Salutations and welcome to Tashana's Kitchen, where every day is a new day, and today is using old jars and giving them a new look. If you caught my last episode where I showed you how to clean scaly or rusty jars or moldy jars, then this is the next video after that. What to do with extra jars, especially if they're not a canning jar. These are old maraschino cherry jars that I have here, 2 of them, and I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do with them. And I decided when you put a jar on the counter, it's cold in the winter time, and when you're baking, you want to have a nice warm jar. At least I do, because it hurts the fibromyalgia. And it's also better to set them down gently with the bottom than just having the straight jar. And the biggest reason is because when I'm doing a lot of baking, I want to be able to just grab my jar and go. And if you've seen any of my cooking videos, you'll see that I have flour, powdered sugar, brown sugar, salt. Everything is in mason jars, and they all look the same. Well, not the brown sugar, but you get what I'm saying. So what I thought for the holiday baking, when my son comes over and we do a big bake this year, I thought it would be a good idea to have different colored jars set up just for my own rhythm of things. So I went ahead and I did this one just for fun, and I thought, maybe you guys want to know how to do that. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. So what you're going to need is a jar of choice that has basically like a pickle lid. Doesn't have to be resealable. If you choose, you could use a mason jar. Some material of choice. I'm just using this old material that I had a piece of, and I actually had 2, and I had another extra little piece, which will fit nicely for my lid. Yes, it's oversized, but I'll explain that later. And then, of course, you're going to need a hot glue gun and a little tray for it, a pair of scissors to do some trimming, an extra glue stick. I also like to use a rubber band, and I'll show you why, as well as some regular twine. And that is so that you can tie it up. So I'm going to get things rearranged and show you how to do that. If you have a hot glue gun with settings, I have found, because I'm using the bigger sticks, that high does work better than low. It just comes out easier, and it's more consistent around the jar, and you don't have to do multiple attempts at it. So, all right, we're going to move that other jar out of the way, pull this one forward, and then I'm going to be using the rubber band, taking the lid off. And what I'm doing is I'm going to be pulling up all the sides around, and as I do it, I'm sticking it into the jar. I did not measure this at all. It's just an extra piece that I have, and I'm going to, there will be an edge you will see that will not fit, and we're going to take care of that. Excuse me. Put my rubber band around. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to that rubber band, and I'm going to just kind of pull it down, and I'm working to get all of this material in there so that it is flat against the jar. Then I can actually see if I'm short somewhere, which I already know that I am, so I'm not concerned because I'll be able to hot glue that specific area. So this is where it starts getting smaller. Alright, so now that I actually got that under the rubber band, that's fantastic. Pull this lip up over the rubber band. There we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start with that section. Excuse me. Allergies are driving me nuts. There's something bothering me today. What I'm going to do is take my string or twine, whatever you want, and bring it around to the front. Once you have all of your edging up underneath that rubber band. Now, like I said, I wanted it to be flat. I see a piece back here that I miss. It's not flat. Once I get going, it will actually be overlapped. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just take this end and I'm tying a simple little knot. I want to leave about 1 inch on this end. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around. Okay, what I need to do next is pull off my rubber band, because it was just there to hold as a guide. Now that I got that first little edge on there, it got hot. All right, there we go. Pull that out and around. All right, there's the rubber band. Now, turn it back around to the front again. Now, all right, so now that it's flat, that's where the very next thing is going to go in. It's my first vertical line, the thing as in the glue gun. And I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to push up and set it down. And then I'm going to hold the bottom up against a jar so it makes a roundish flat area-ish, not completely round. And then I'm going to tuck that little last piece underneath. Now, this is where we're going to start with our rolls. So, I'm going to put this side in, get out my scissors, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim it. This is a rough cut edge, just around, getting rid of it. You don't want to go too far down, because I want to have a little bit of a lip. I want it to be the same length, close to. I need to have a little bit of edges so that when I'm doing my rolling effect, it's going to go over the shorter part as well. So now that we had our first crease here, what we're going to do, and now that we've trimmed up the edging, is we're going to go around the jar, and I'm going to add in some creases by going up again, laying it down flat. And then give a little turn. And then I can see that I actually have a natural crease that goes from the other direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the bottom, work my way up into the jar crack. It's actually the material. It's not really the jar, I guess. Okay. There's another one. And by laying these over so that they're flat up to where you have the roundest ridge in the jar, it gives it something to adhere to. Because we're going to be going all the way around, and then we're going to be laying this over the top. Now, the first time that I'm going through, I'm actually working to make sure that I get it deep into the leftover edge of the material that I'm laying flat, especially the bigger ones. And that way it's not seeping out and it's not getting on my fingers and getting too hot. Now, as I'm going around, I'm continually pulling back up because I want to make sure that I'm getting inside these cracks for added interest. This one has two next to each other, so I'm just going to do the two at the same time. It looks like it wants to lay on top of that other one. It does. All right, that's great. And yes, I do get my fingers sometimes, and you will too. It's only hot for a minute. Alright, so then pulling up, getting it tight again. Okay, got that done round. Looking good. Getting on the flat edges. So now that we have all of our first round of edging so that it's fairly up against it, I mean, it adds a little interest because it's a round jar, you're not going to get it completely flat. What we're going to do is get ready to add the ring that goes around. So now I'm going to be taking and folding up. You can do it one of two ways. You can fold underneath like this, and then it's going to have this white edging. And if I'm going to be putting the same color top as the bottom, I really don't want to do that. So what I'm going to need to do is do it inside the other direction. So I'm folding it up underneath itself in the jar, or excuse me, underneath the material, between the jar and the material. Now, I'm going to go ahead and roll it one time all the way around. Now what I need to do is get this tucked up underneath as close as I can to the piece of twine so that one, it stays tight down here, and two, it's not up where my lid is actually going to be going. Because in the end, we're actually going to, once we go around and fold it on the inside, we'll go back through and I'm going to put some hot glue around the edge so it stays glued underneath, number one, and then I will attach it on the bottom as well. So first, now that I've got a quarter of the way around, I'm going to go ahead and add my hot glue down at the jar level underneath the rim. Underneath the rim, because if you don't get it under the rim, then your lid's not going to go on. And if you put your lid on now, then you don't have a good grip with your fingers on the inside to hold that. Okay. Now we're getting around. Underneath the edge of the lip again. Now, I have two pieces left here. I have a long piece over here with a short and then a long. So it's actually three, but two longer pieces. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going back to the middle to where the shorter part is, and I'm going to roll that up underneath first, because then I know I got to the edge of my jar for sure. And where I have the other piece where I met in the beginning, where it was the other short piece, I want to make sure that this is going to cover that. So if I roll up and underneath in that direction, still pushing up under, pushing underneath the twine, then it gets back to that beginning spot, and it's still red and not all colored. So as you can see, I'm almost there. this is getting to be too much, so we're going to go ahead and cut some of that edge off. Pull it up, keeping it tight. In with some hot glue, pushing it down. Ooh, I got the hot glue on me. Ooh. Yep, it is still hot for a minute. I recommend you keep your fingers out of the hot glue. I'll just use that to help me push. Now, there's no reason why you can't use another piece of material to kind of guide and push the hot glue rather than burning yourself. I definitely got my finger bad on that one. Oh yeah. Look at that red spot. You definitely don't want to try that at home. Alright, yeah, one more spot I'm going to have to get in there. This time, we're just going to lay it flat with the material. I am not touching that again. Okay, that looks nice. Now, get the rest of that glue off the fingers again, one more time. And now we have this one more section that we need to finish up. So because we've already got back all the way to this section, we don't need all this extra stuff. So I'm just going to go straight across. Now, one more time, we're going to pull that bottom. So last time of getting this, it's the last chance of getting this tight. So I'm pushing down on the string, pulling up on that last bit here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and pull down, make sure I get up underneath the edge again. One last time. We're going to roll this up and underneath itself. Now we're going to tie the last two pieces together. I'm not going to touch that. Well, maybe a little, but not too bad. I'm just simply going to push down and roll away, because if I pull away, it's going to undo all the work that I'm doing with the edging. So I'm going to roll it away. All right, that looks good. Now we've gone all the way around. Like that little tiny white edge. Okay. Now I have a little piece of the white sticking out, so I'm just trying to shove it up underneath that little crack and crevice right there, so it's not as noticeable. There we go. Now that I've gone all the way around the jar, this will be the back of my jar. I already can tell. Now these aren't going to be perfect, and your friends and family aren't going to care. They're just going to be like, oh my gosh, you spent time and you made that for me, and or for my dog, or whatever it is that you're planning to do with them. Alright, got that last little section. One more time. Push down. That looks much better. So then the next thing I'm going to do is take my little edge here. The other material edge, by that I mean. And I'm just going to roll. So now I'm just going to finish throwing some on here. More glue. I'm going to take my lid, turn it over. And I'm going to put it right on my lid. Now I'm going to set my lid on the top of my jar so I can press down on it. And it's flat on the ground, but then any of that little bit extra glue that might have went around the edge or that I already had on the material that was over the edge of the lip of my lid will now be sticking to the side, as you will see. So one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to literally go around the edge of the jar, just touch it. My jar lid. Anywhere that didn't naturally do it itself, that is. Okay. Now I'm doing a little crinkly crease and pushing really hard. One, because I want the glue to stay, and two, because I want it to have kind of a cute little crinkly flower look. I'm going to be unpacking some of my holiday stuff here pretty soon, which would include my stamps and ribbons and stuff like that. And I'll be able to pull out ribbon to actually put around on this, and then my crinkle scissors so that I can give a cute little edge. So what I'm going to do now is where the shortest part is, it should be like 2 fingers. I'm basically just going to go around my jar and cut that. And it does not need to be perfect or even, because once you start doing it perfect and even, it's not going to have that little cute little flowery look that you want. Alright, so around. Now remember, you can always take off more, but you cannot add it back on. So I'm left-handed trying to cut right-handed. It's always fun. And make sure you can see. Turn that the other direction to finish. Not bad. Alright. So, there you have it. You can have a little bit longer lip or edge so that it all hangs down longer if you like. I actually was looking to still be able to see the crease lines, believe it or not, in my jar lid so that I know where to hold on. Because as many of you know, my eyesight's not the best. So, now that I've had that on there for at least 20 seconds, first time I do it that way just because it may have caught a little bit of glue. Alright, so there you have it. Dog treats or a simple gift for your friends and family. And once I get out the ribbon, like I said, I will be taking some nice ribbons and tying onto that. I'm planning to do salt dough ornaments, which will be another video. And this year I bought some cute little letters, and I'm going to take those letters and I'm going to do people's last names for their family. My son and I are doing baskets, like I mentioned, and with the dog treats and stuff, and I want to put on here the dog's name, so I'll have a little ribbon, and it'll have a little ornament attached to it, and then we'll have a basket with all the different candies and cookies that we do for the adults and the children, the human children, that is. And then, because we got to mark them separate just so that people know. Because they're human friendly, but you're not going to want to eat bouillon in your cookie. But your dog does. So, homemade bouillon it is. So there you go. I hope you check back to do salt dough ornaments. And when I do, I will be adding them to here so you can see the tag. If in fact I end up using these ones, because something tells me, I have a feeling this is going to end up being my brown sugar and my flour for my holiday season. Thank you. I hope you had fun today. Like, share, subscribe on below. Tell me any ideas you might have to make this better. And come on back and see how I embellish it to give away. Have a great day.